I'm Nick Gallagher. This is Captain Josh Cisneros, Captain Matt Bodle. We're here today to discuss a fire you had in April, the two-story multifamily dwelling, 3 rescues. I'd like to kind of go over it and talk about it today. So kind of walk me through the incident.
Yeah, so before the incident, really, we did a lot of training this cycle. We had a rookie that this was his first shift out. He was over there with us at Station 5. Day 1 went by. We did a lot of training. Day 2, morning of, we wanted to stretch some hose to Station 5, to the front door through the little parking lot, a drill we like to do. We kind of simulated victims, people yelling at us that there's people inside and that your job is just to stay task focused, get the job done, and we'll accomplish the overall goal of putting the fire out, searching the building, right? So we did a lot of training with him. We stressed that, your first fire could pop at 2 a.m. and you go from 0 to 100 in, a minute, and you're on scene and people are yelling and screaming at you and you're looking fire down the face. And that's pretty much what happened. It was our second night around 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. Got sent out for a structure fire on 8500 Marquette, which is an address not too familiar with. I do know a lot of the board ups in our district and kind of pay attention, and kind of was like, this one's a little unfamiliar. There's a building we hadn't been to before, but Engine 5 shows up on scene. Lieutenant Northup gives a good size up, working fire. At this point, we're rolling up as well. There's APD everywhere. There's probably about 6 cops running around, yelling at us that there's people inside. So alarm room did advise us that there was people inside, but as everybody knows in the Southeast, we get there pretty quick. So we never really heard that, but we were getting it from APD. And then as well, one person had already self-extricated the building and they were on the ground. I think you guys will get to look at the video in this. We'll see Driver Vasquez walk by this guy, ask him a question, and this is what he says, is that there's 5 people inside in this bottom left apartment. So in the video, you could see the fire's on the right side, but we were getting reports that the bottom left, there were still people trapped. So Ladder 5 arrives on scene. We get assigned to search that Bravo 1 apartment for the victims are. I had a firefighter on the trade, Sam Eddy. Me and him go up, we start masking up. I'm looking at the door, and as most of these board ups are, it's really well secured. It's got a wrought iron security door that I can see is screwed shut to the frame in multiple places. As a ladder captain, I usually try to do my own 360. So as I saw that, I went around to the Charlie side, noticed an open window of the apartment where the people were stuck, and a pretty good smoke production coming out of that window. So went back to the Alpha side. Rescue 5 had made their way up there. I said, you guys force the door. We're going to VEIS this back window. That's where we're getting reports. There's people in there. This is urgent rescue profile. Gives us all right to VEIS. Me and Sam Eddy go over there. We clear the window open a little bit. He dives in first. I end up going with him as well. Had my tick. We get in there, kind of getting our bearings of the room. This room actually had a 2 4-person tent fully set up in this room as we're going in the room trying to search it. So we get in there, we get our bearings, we search. The door's wide open to the apartment, and at this time, when you hear the audio or whatever, at this time Rescue 5 had made entry through the Alpha side and called out 1 victim.
Okay.
So I knew that they weren't going to be searching any further, so I decided for me and Sam Eddy to continue our search into the building. We went into the hallway where we probably missed this victim. We were walking.
Initially, you missed.
I think we probably stepped over her initially. We went in, I hung a left, and I actually ran into the hose team from the other side.
From the other apartment?
From the other apartment. They had tunneled from all 4 apartments, basically were connected by some opening. So I ran into the nozzleman over there, realized I needed to back up, and at this point, I realized I couldn't see anything. I told my pipeman, I said we need to drop low and do our search. And as we did that, basically looked back to where we had come through and saw a victim.
Okay.
The radio traffic at this point, Med 5 had then went to complete the search that Rescue 5 was unable to complete because of their first victim. At this point, Med 5 then had a second victim at the front door. That door was wide open. Me and Sam Eddy had found our victim, called it out over the radio, and I looked back and I could see the opening to the alpha side. So I called out a victim. Me and him were able to pick her up and go out the front door instead of going back through the window. And at that point, we had 3 people pulled out of this structure under 10 minutes. The 2 were by the front door. We're kind of piled up on each other, probably trying to get out the exit. There's a lot of hoarder-like conditions in there. There was a shopping cart behind that door. So when you see the video, driver Underwood forced the door, got it open. And I mean, he's a strong dude, and he's shoving on that door, trying to push it open. And once he gets it open, he realizes there's a person there. Squeezes his way in. I think he has to move some debris, and then they get 1 victim out, and then 2 follow. So that's basically how the rescues went and the search and finding the victims.
The victim that you guys were able to retrieve, was that victim under debris as well, or was that one in the tent?
She was essentially in the hallway, I would call it, of a 2-bedroom apartment, right at the threshold going into the room that we initially went in. And in the video, you'll see some good smoke production when they open that front door. It was pretty hot in there. At one point, I was, just hoping the engine was doing their job, because I was aware of the heat at that point. Air started getting hot, and also because I was standing. And a lot of things, I've been bad about searches. When I'm searched, I stand, I have a tick, I can see everything. And, for some reason, I just, in my head, told me to drop low, and it just lit it up. I was able to find the victim because of that.
This is, from a training perspective, what kind of takeaways do you have?
That's a big one for sure, is, the tick is a tool, but we need to get low. We all see that smoke. Training too, always train. I'm a big trainer. I'm over there at Station 5. We always find time to train, and that's what helped us here. We knew exactly what to do because we've already practiced it, and everybody was good at staying at their task was another big thing. The guys on the engine got there first, and they knew that this was an urgent rescue profile, but they were aware that, putting out the fire solves a lot of problems.
And they're your protection.
Right.
Essentially, they're protecting the search team.
Yeah. And even the victims that we pulled out, I think 2 of them, Kim Pruitt told me, they were on the floor. Obviously, they're not standing, they're unconscious. They had 2nd-degree burns on their chest.
Okay.
So 2 of them, one of them left AMA. One ended up being dead on scene. We did work her, the second one out the front door. And the 3rd victim, the victim that we got, stayed in the hospital for a little bit. She was sitting up with me. She was kind of resting against my knee, sitting up, just waiting for us to transport her.
So it sounds like you put this fire out in the universe, having that discussion with the rookie. How did it go with the tailboard session after this fire was completely done? You guys are doing your tailboard, and you had a discussion with the rookie after. How did he feel?
Yeah, I think he thinks everything goes this way.
That's his first fire.
It's a career fire. I've been a firefighter, not just for this organization, but another for 18 years.
Yeah.
And I had never pulled a victim out of a fire, and here this kid is day one,
right
on
away.
scene of 3 people being pulled out of a fire. So
That's incredible.
he got a lot of good experience. He learned a lot from that one as well, because we all knew our task and we went to work fast, and he was kind of just happened to keep up at this one.
Yeah.
This wasn't a training fire. We weren't able to let him, hey, you forced the door while we do things.
Yeah.
No, we need to get in there and do our job.
Absolutely. No, tremendous work for you, your crew, all the crews around. We were up here at the time of the incident and heard nothing but great things. So Captain Gallagher, myself, are excited to do this interview with you guys. We want to get the important points out there, and obviously there's always a lesson to learn from these incidents, and we're very glad you took the time. Now, with the training and getting low, right now we're in the middle of day 2 CEs. How does this CEs kind of correlate with what you guys learned out there?
Yeah, and great. We just, Station 5, we just did CEs, and now we're in the room now.
Yeah.
And it's great. And I was bad at standing. If I can stand, why not? But you got to think where the victim's going to be. They're going to be on the ground.
Yeah.
They're not going to be standing up. And just wanted to say this was one of those fires where everything went right for us, and we were well prepared. We do a lot of training at Station 5, and just can't be more happy and proud of my crew of how well everybody did on this fire.
I wanted to ask, nationally, there was kind of a push from certain groups to maybe go defensive on abandoned structures. Do you think this kind of puts that to rest?
Yeah, I mean, definitely this has been a big hot topic nationally, and you know, conversations come up in our department as well. And that conversation had just come up to me a week prior, and, you know, mentioning that people try to use the door that they're most commonly used, right? Well, these people crawl in through a window, and now that a fire has started somewhere close to that window, and they're basically trapped because, like I mentioned, the door is screwed shut with metal screws into the frame. Like they're not opening that up. And so people tunnel, and then they can't get out. They can't find their way out.
And they try to go to the front door.
And go to the front door, and they couldn't. You know, 2 of them were found at the front door, and one, maybe the one that we found ladder 5, might have been trying to get out that window, but just probably succumbed to the effects of how bad the smoke was.
Mm-hmm. What led to you making the decision to VES? Because sometimes a lot of people have difficulty, like being a ladder officer, and kind of how do I make that decision if I show up? Like, was it just based off initial reports? There's 5 people in there. We can't get in through this door, so you're going to go to the Charlie side and try. And also, it was a first floor VES, so we're not throwing a ladder.
Right. Definitely, this was kind of an interesting one, and I tell a lot of people, when you look at this building, you know, it's a 4 apartments on a 2-story building, so 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. So you have the fire occupancy that was basically fully involved in fire, and then your next priority for search should be directly above. And that's where we should have gone without the credibility and the information we had of the bystanders that basically directed us exactly where they are. They weren't going to be upstairs. They were going to be next door. So the decision for me was just knowing that there's people in there, about as good of information as you can get, that this is real information and there's somebody stuck in this building, was that front door was going to take the guys a minute. And I already knew from my own 360 was that back window was open. Okay. And that me and the pipeman can get in there fast. So that was my decision to go VEIS through that back Charlie. Was there's possibly multiple people in here, and we need to be the most efficient and effective, and we're going to go through the Charlie side while these guys try to get that front door. And I'm glad we did. You know, I think that was the right move, and you know, the rescues still were able to go through the front door and kind of search and work that area, and we covered it all, you know, and one thing that I'm very proud of as well is we didn't miss anybody. Yeah. I've had fires where we've missed victims, and it's not a good feeling. And, you know, for us to get in there and get 3 victims under 10 minutes and not leave any behind was, you know, ideal.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out. I look forward to more conversations in the future. Hopefully we can get other crews out here that have done similar things, or just even like just regular run-of-the-mill fires. Yeah, absolutely. Takeaways that we can apply to training. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think this is great, and we need to continue to talk about fires we have so everybody can learn from.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is driver Forrest Tindel. You were driving engine 5 on that day or that evening. What led you to force the door on the right side of the building? Like, what, you'd obviously already charged the line, and then you saw, so go ahead and just talk me through that process.
Yeah, there was that first victim that self-extricated from the structure, and as panicked as he seemed and everything, you know, I just something got in me, and I was like, I'm not just gonna stand here and stand at the pump panel. I already charged the line. That's good. Tried to help flake out as much as I could, and then I was like, I'm an extra hand, and these guys are masking up at the front door, so I might as well just try to work on it right away.
Just being a proactive driver. So initially, that door, when you went to force it, can you kind of describe what it looked like? Was it this was a board up, correct? So
yeah.
It wasn't like a traditional board up, but you actually had screws around the frame.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't see right away. They're ram set screws, so those screws that are just shot.
Oh,
they're, you know, 3 or 4 inches long. I didn't see that until afterwards when we were looking at it all, but it was pretty tough to open up. It looked like it was wrecking me. You know, when I watched the video again, I was like, oh man. But yeah, those screws were there, and it was one of those kind of security doors that you see a lot in that neighborhood, especially. It's got the metal mesh and the wrought iron. Yeah. So pretty strong door. But the funny thing about it being at a board up is that those were exposed. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I didn't have plywood that I had to break out, think about a chainsaw or something else like that, a grinder or anything like that. I was like, I popped these doors a few times before.
Yeah, so
Just traditional irons went to work with that.
Yeah, get that adze and then pop it, right against the jam there. So
were you able to get it open right away, or was there some difficulties with those screws?
Yeah, there was definitely some difficulties with the screws being there. I was able to sink my adze in for sure, but I was like, why isn't this popping? See, the adze actually slip out of the jam at one point, and there was a window next to it. My elbow goes through the window, and I look, and I'm like, I'm probably bleeding right now, but we got to make access right now.
Because of the credibility of multiple people telling you there was victims inside, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cops were screaming, running around, yelling it. The victim, like I said, he'd come up to me, come up to the other guys when they're masking up. Why are they running to that door over there? That one's on fire. My friends are in this door. And
I got you.
This whole time, I'm just like, I need to do what I need to do to get my crew water.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go try to bust this door while the rescues are all masking up.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely appreciate you taking that proactive approach. I mean, that was huge. I understand Driver Klosterman was on the ladder that night of the fire. He had some jobs he was doing, throwing ladders on the backside. After you were able to get that door mostly forced, what were your actions after that?
I went back. I wanted to make sure that my crew was good. I kind of have my own personal litany of things that I like to do on fires. I like to set out a fan. I like to make sure my crew's good. I stage my bottles ahead of time, or their bottles ahead of time, and make sure that everyone is gonna have what they need so they can either turn around and get right back in there, because knowing Chris Northrup, he's gonna turn around and just go right back inside. He's not gonna want to recycle.
Yeah.
It's just too aggressive. So I like keeping up with them and just making sure that they have the tools they need. If they need a pike pole, if they need something else, I'm going to be right there and just run to them and have it for them. So that was one thing. At the same time, it wasn't too long after that Rescue 5 was pulling out the first victim. I remember one thing that was kind of funny about that situation is there was a cop that ran back to the rescue. And I guess what either Lieutenant Zanone, I think it was what he said. He was trying to get the cop to get the Lucas, but a cop doesn't know what a Lucas is.
Yeah.
So he's looking in the officer's seat. There's a white box around here for the call over there. They need some white box. Lucas?
Who's Lucas?
And I was like, oh, okay. I run back. I grab the Lucas device right behind where the cop is looking, and I run it over. From that point in time, it was a blur, and it was just 30 minutes of continuous running and grabbing and, getting this bag. We're using the pumper's airway truck for the code that's over here, and the Rescue 5 airway bag, over here for this patient that's getting treated.
And you guys were working 2 codes on this?
One code. One patient was just getting patient care at that time. The first one was pulled out. She was unconscious. The second patient that was pulled out was a full code.
And ultimately passed away.
The whole time. So there's a code going on over here on my left side, and there's a whole fire that I'm still pumping over here on the right side.
Yeah, so definitely multitasking.
A lot of multitasking and just trying to,
I think it's easy on social media to criticize people, but when you're in that situation, it's a lot different. And I'm glad that you've been able to kind of tell your story.
Yes, absolutely.
Get that out there because, people don't realize, like, especially in other parts of the country, the type of buildings that we deal with on a regular basis, whether it's board ups.
Yep.
I've had people from other departments talk about how many security bars we have on our windows. So it's really grateful for you to come out and talk to us today. We really appreciate it. Great job. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So based off of this incident, what training or advice would you give other drivers, especially the ones that are coming up? We have a driver cert class coming up in a week. What advice would you offer those individuals?
If there's things, in every fire that we have, there's things that we can look back and self-critique. And I would say for me, even though there's another patient that's self-extricated running around shouting, there's several cops shouting, and you got the line charge and stuff, focus on your tasks and slow down a little bit, just like you learned in the academy. Take a second to make a minute and just look at everything. There was a line that I could have gotten a kink out of, and they would have had better pressure over here. over here on the left side, if I would have actually sized up the door frame like they teach you in the academy, oh, there's some ram set nails. So I'm going to grab the grinder real quick, come right back. Just little things here and there.
Yeah, good. Great. Well, definitely thank you again. You guys did a tremendous job out there. We've heard nothing but good reports from that fire, and we appreciate you taking the time and coming up and having the discussion with us.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.